This is Russell Dobler filling in for Jimmy Dore while he rehearses for his premiere on Dancing with the Stars next week. We have Keaton and Kurt sitting in. All right. There has been a lot of activity going on college campuses in a lot of ways. It is almost like the Vietnam era all over again, right down to wanting the universities to divest of their contracts with the military. So Yale students were just arrested today for their protest. Protesters demanding Yale University divest from military manufacturers and expressing solidarity with Gaza amid the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas were arrested Monday after officials said they refused to disband an encampment on campus. Demonstrations then spilled out into the streets of New Haven, Connecticut. For the last several days, a pro-Palestinian protest group called Occupy Beinecke erected a 24-tent encampment outside of Yale's Beinecke Plaza. In a statement on Instagram, the group said the encampment was also in solidarity with the recent protests at Columbia University, which resulted in multiple arrests last week and this weekend. In Boston, MIT and Emerson College campuses also saw student protests. I'll also add that the new school in New York has also set up an encampment in solidarity with Columbia. So this is where the piece. They kept smiling and kept their heads up. Following the arrest of students protesting at Beinecke Plaza at Yale, students and residents of New Haven took to the streets, shutting down nearby intersection in solidarity with the arrested students and Palestine. So let's take a look. This is, they arrested 47. I think the plaza was in the internal area of the university that they occupied. You know what? I have something to say about that. Somebody asked me to talk to you about this.
Look, not a mask. I'm done with the nose.
Officer, please pull my mask up. I don't want to get sick. I'm still wearing the mask. Wow.
No, it's not for that reason. All right. So I was literally asked by somebody when we were petitioning for Jose this weekend. There was a woman who was out petitioning and she had a mask on. And she literally said to me, could you, when you see Jimmy, could you tell him we're not wearing these masks for that reason? It's because they have facial ID recognition. We don't want to get seen. And it's a socially acceptable way to cover your face. Okay. So, and I think that's true because, come on, man. You don't have this many people running around that age who are this deranged in the COVIDian
if they go to Yale,
mask-wearing thing. Yale, nah.
Taylor Lorenz is that deranged?
Nah.
Taylor Lorenz is not
look, the Google protest, it was the same thing. 25 of them, all chanting, all with masks on. There's no way. It's because they're all that COVID deranged.
Okay, I believe
it's
black
because
people
they're trying to keep their faces out of the
people.
News, and they're trying to. It's not for that reason. As soon as she said that, made sense.
It could ruin your life.
It's not this because look, I live in Shitlib Central in New York. I don't see young kids outside of this context walking around wearing masks all the time.
I've been.
If they were that indoctrinated, I'd see it in other contexts. I never do.
You know, when
I still wear masks so I can curse people out under my breath without them knowing.
Yeah, see, there you go.
I could
sometimes it's that.
I miss that about COVID. Like in a supermarket, if someone cuts you off with their shopping cart and you have a mask on, you bitch. You know.
I mean,
and you can't do that without a mask.
It's like I'm in Antifa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, you need a mask for that.
You know, I should wear a mask. Like I was on the plane when I took it out here. I had this big dumb guy who kept getting in and out of the thing. And I'm from Queens, man. Sometimes I don't check that shit. I get up, I'm like, This big dumb motherfucker. I said it at like full volume, and people in the other seats like looked at me. They were like, "Is this going to be one of those incidents that makes the news where they have to land the plane?"
You're on the aisle, and a guy kept getting up.
Exactly.
How many times?
6.
No,
like
you need
about
an N95 for that. You need the 2 rubber bands and the thick wall because then it blocks the sound too.
Yeah. No, everybody heard me. All right. So this was not just at Yale, but Columbia's getting a lot of the publicity. Columbia holds classes virtually as Jewish leaders warn about safety amid pro-Palestinian protests. Now, I just want to point out there has been no violence whatsoever, and as we'll see later in the article, when the police make no claims of violence, the police actually said, I don't know if I included that part of the article, they actually said they have 0 reports of Jewish students being attacked. 0.
Yeah.
0.
Emotionally, though.
None. Emotionally, they're very hurt. They're very hurt about being accused of genocide. So before we get into this, I'm just going to say, and we've talked about this quite a lot, this is the price of linking Jewish identity to a genocidal apartheid state. Those things are not inextricably linked, but based on what statistics I've seen, 80% of Jews support Israel. Well, okay. Well, now you see what the problem with that is, because when Israel is committing a genocide, now people understandably think Jews support genocide, because by implication, you do. You support a genocidal state, right? So it is not anti-Semitic for people to make that association. You've made that association. You have emphatically, for 75 years, told people that support for Israel and Judaism is inseparable. So how does that look now? What if you had a religion that actively supported South Africa? What would people have said about people who belonged to that religion at the height of South African apartheid? That is the position Jews have put themselves in by tying their identity to Israel. To talk about needing Israel as a bulwark against anti-Semitism is one of the stupidest fucking things I've ever heard. You are causing anti-Semitism. I promise you, no matter what Aunt Sally told you about all of the ravening anti-Semites and hidden anti-Semitism, nobody would give a shit if Israel went away. Yeah, a couple of people. You're always going to have a couple of people. Not many. This is all about Israel. It's not about your Judaism. Nobody gives a shit. It is about Israel. So, early Monday, Columbia President Namat Manu Shafik said that classes would be held virtually Monday and that school leaders would be coming together to discuss a way to bring an end to this crisis. In a statement to the university community, Shafik said she was saddened by the events on campus and denounced anti-Semitic language and intimidating and harassing behavior. Okay, so this is the profile in courage that the head of Columbia is. She was literally asked if she wants Columbia to be cursed by God by this fucking lunatic. Rick Allen, he's a congressman from Georgia, and her response has to be seen to be believed.
It's pretty clear it was the covenant that God made with Abraham, and that covenant was real clear. If you bless Israel, I will bless you. If you curse Israel, I will curse you. And then in the New Testament, it was confirmed that all nations would be blessed through you. So you do not know about that.
Oh, is that the latest science?
I have heard that now that you've explained it. Yes, I have heard that
it's
before.
now familiar. Do you consider that a serious issue? I mean, do you want Columbia University to be cursed by God of the Bible?
Definitely not.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah, so instead of telling her, are you out of your fucking mind? Who elected you? Who thought it was a good idea to put someone in Congress that would ask us a serious question if we should suit university policy to avoiding Lucifer and his minions descending upon the college. Instead, she all she cares about is protecting her job, because she saw what happened to Claudia Gay. She saw what happened to the chancellor at UPenn. I always forget her name.
By the way, Claudine Gay ran somebody out. Claudine Gay's a piece of shit.
I'm not.
That
yes,
chick is from the World Bank
that,
and the IMF, and she's a scumbag too. That guy, he said, those who bless Israel. So that's Christian Zionism. Guess who installed him there? Take a wild guess who installed the Christian Zionist hillbilly. Those people aren't, that guy's like, his plumage is beautiful. I haven't seen one of them around in years.
The question is, look at how she answers this, because she saw what happened to the last people who went up there and tried to talk about the First Amendment and tried to talk about the tradition of open debate at university. She's like, that's not happening to me. And as we will see, it doesn't matter. They want to whack her anyway. So she debased herself very much. She's like the Elizabeth Warren of university presidents. She debased herself for no reason, because unless you're purely their creature, it's never going to be good enough for them. They'll be happy when Bill Ackman is running Columbia.
But notice how subservient she is to this guy who represents everything that, like, the progressive liberal Ivy League university institution is supposed to exist in opposition to. Like, there's no one, there's no archetype that these Ivy Leaguers hate more than, like, the Christian right hillbilly group. And yet look at how she will embarrass herself on his terms when she feels that her career is at risk.
That's
right?
it.
Once again, just shows how all of the entire ethos of the prestigious university, right, as this bastion of knowledge and pursuit of enlightenment and wisdom, it's all a jerk off. It's all a vessel for these very venal people to just advance as far up the economic ladder as they can. There's no underlying ethos whatsoever except money, money, money.
Hey, can I read this?
Sure.
It goes directly to that video you just showed. This guy, Ed Hanna, tweeted this out. He said, suppose that God exists and that the Bible is legitimate, unbiased, and unaltered word of God. In the Bible, the term Israel is not a name, but a reference referring to those who believe and faithfully follow the guidance of the Bible. Before Jesus Christ, those were the Bible-believing Hebrews. Since Christ, those are the Bible-believing Christians and everyone who believes and upholds the humanity that Jesus Christ's teachings represent, including Muslims. Therefore, the Bible gives no claim to land or supremacy of one ethnic group over another, nor does it bless or curse. Otherwise, God would be unwise. Throughout history, the Bible has been weaponized for the most part by Europeans who sought to justify their imperialistic endeavors to the masses. So I thought that was pretty profound.
That's what Munther Isaac said.
Make it say whatever you want. That's why it's a great book.
What's that, Kate?
When Tucker interviewed Munther Isaac, the Bethlehem, I guess Reverend, right? He talked about how in the Bible there's mention of the Israelites as a chosen people, as a blessed people, but he says there is no blessed state, right?
That's right.
And there's a difference there that gets washed over now.
Of
right,
course.
because they want you to think that Israel is a sacred political entity, right? Not just that these are people who are chosen, but that this project is chosen, and the project of Israel is, as we know, a very much a secular one.
It's a blasphemy to Judaism, is what it is.
Well,
and if you believe in the Bible, they're going to get punished for that, because Israel. Yeah, they get to go kill all the Amalekites.
Well,
but also when they fuck up, it comes back on them. So that guy's leaving that out, I suspect, on purpose. That's what Christian Zionism is. They pretend what you just said, this secular thing, is why it's so bizarre.
Well, and if you want to talk about racism, the core racism at the heart of the Zionist project, because they're all secular, but they all believe God gave them Israel. if you actually read the Bible, which I know you have, when God tells them, I gave you this land, you see, the way I read the Bible is there's history in there, and they accidentally tell the truth a lot.
Yeah, they do.
So
That's how you
really,
have to read it.
if God gave you land, presumably it would be empty. But no, they tell the truth.
Yeah.
God, because it's also their history of these people.
It's like TikTok.
So God gives you the land. There's just one problem. There are people there.
Yeah.
So God tells them to commit a 7-nation genocide.
Well, you have to understand,
to take the
though,
land, you have to wipe out that 7 nations
because
to claim it.
Their ancestors saw his father's nakedness after the flood and have the curse of Ham upon them.
Well, yes. If you actually, you know, they'll never say this in front of the cameras. They think the Palestinians are descended from the people who aren't supposed to be there.
Yeah, right.
They think they're the people who are supposed to.
Meanwhile, they're
not
all
be in that land.
Canaanites and they're all Phoenician. They're all the same genetic stock.
Well, this is why DNA tests are illegal in Israel, because the people who are actually descended from the ancient Hebrews of that area are the fucking Palestinians who converted to Islam.
Wait, the DNA tests are illegal?
That is what I have read, that the DNA tests are illegal. You're not even allowed to talk about the results of a DNA test in Israel.
So no constitution, no civil marriage, can't talk about DNA. They don't even falsify it. They just say, no, don't even get into it.
You cannot take a DNA test.
Oh, by the way, Star David from the Bible.
It's illegal because look what that's going to open up. Yo, I've had a DNA test. I'm as Middle Eastern as Kobe Bryant. Okay, you know?
Kobe Bryant was a true Israelite.
I've got absolutely no. There's nothing in there of Middle Eastern descent.
You know, the flag's an occult
I'd be
symbol.
shocked if there was. You know, you test Ashkenazi Jews. There's no Middle Eastern descent in an Ashkenazi Jew, and that is predominantly who the original Zionists were, and it's still the ruling and leadership class of Israel.
Yeah, that's the best part. Dave Smith saying to Dennis Prager, he goes, no, I admire Israel. A bunch of Russians got together and created a country out of nothing and made up a language. He was taking a dig on them when he said that, and Prager's nodding. It was great. It should be called, Can You Hear Yourself? That's what the debate should be called.
All right, so to continue, the decibel of our disagreements has only increased in recent days. These tensions have been exploited and amplified by individuals who are not affiliated with Columbia, who have come to campus to pursue their own agendas, she said. We need a reset. In a letter shared on social media Sunday, Chabad at Columbia University said students have had offensive rhetoric hurled at them. Yeah, see, speaking of, including being told to go back to Poland and stop killing children. Now, I will say, you know, I've been at these protests, and I have seen people say things like, you are from Poland, you are from Russia.
Yeah.
And they're right. They're right. That's regarding what I'm saying. But when I saw people say that, and they were all Middle Easterners who said that, when I saw them say that, they were saying it in response to Zionists saying that Palestine doesn't exist.
Right.
Because that's their take.
Yeah, right. Like the MAGA
Palestine, what land are you going back to? There is no Palestine.
Yeah, right.
It is you're going to an imaginary place.
Yeah.
And they would say in response, go to Poland, go to Russia. That is your home. That is where you came from. So that's what they're talking about.
Stop killing children.
And
that's offensive.
Stop killing children is a pretty funny thing to brand as offensive.
Sounds like Vietnam. It sounds like Vietnam. Hey, baby killer. It sounds like
killer, right?
Yeah.
White House deputy
Blood libel.
Blood libel.
Or blood libel.
Libel. Today's Passover. Did you get the Christian blood, Keaton? We need the Christian blood today.
I thought
how are we going to make the matzah
was a couple days ago.
Maybe that
was
taste
just a
like
weekend.
something then if there was Christian blood in it. That's why I don't believe that story.
All right, matzah is good with tuna fish. It makes a good tuna fish sandwich.
I've eaten it many times.
But by itself, yeah. White House Deputy Press Secretary Andrew Bates said in a statement Sunday that protesters in and around Columbia cross the line if they say violence should befall Jewish students. Quote, while every American has the right, and actually, if you know the prior rulings about the First Amendment, that doesn't actually cross the line. If
I
they
can
say
pray to God for violence upon your head.
It
yes.
should. If you just say, if you say you should get cancer, you know what? We have had a lot of videos of Zionists saying things like to Medea Benjamin. That sick woman said to Medea Benjamin, I want you to be raped. I want you to be murdered. It's good for you.
Yeah.
So what about that? Does that cross the line? Why don't they go after this woman?
No, that you be chosen.
While every American has the right to peaceful protest, calls for violence and physical intimidation targeting Jewish students and the Jewish community are blatantly anti-Semitic, unconscionable, and dangerous. They have absolutely no place on any college campus or anywhere in the United States of America, he said. One of the groups at the center of campus protests, Columbia Students for Justice in Palestine, released a statement Sunday night on the social media platform X, seeking to distance its participants from unlawful agitators and imagery that would cast the movement to end attacks on civilians in Gaza as one of violence. The group called some of those getting attention for threats and aggression, quote, inflammatory individuals who do not represent us, and said its members have been misidentified by a politically motivated
Those are people
mob.
Infiltrators. It's a classic
I was
move.
just going to say,
Obviously.
man, always, when they want to take down a movement, it's so easy to send somebody with a sign, kill all the fill in the blanks,
Jimmy was
right?
in
And
DC,
then, you see, it's violence.
At peace rallies, they had people with Soviet. I don't believe people really brought Soviet flags to that for 2 fucking seconds. I don't believe they did.
Right.
They send people there on purpose. You know,
Exactly.
oh, look, they love Russia. They don't even use a current Russian flag because they know no one knows what that looks like in America.
Exactly.
So they got to get the old one. Remember Seinfeld? And this is a fake clip too. And I knew it was fake because I think Jeremy from the Quarter reported it as a harassment. But Seinfeld, people were yelling at him, hey, worldwide Jewry, they were saying to him.
Oh, somebody
says that.
Somebody protested him or
Yeah,
people
you came at Seinfeld, the guy who cares about Pop-Tarts with that. A guy who's not even involved, and you use the term worldwide Jewry. I haven't heard that outside of a provocateur using old school.
Right, exactly.
Nonsense
Well,
term,
particularly people who are legitimate protesters. My experience, having been a protester and covered protesters, you're very careful not to use language like that.
Of course.
Because you know the media is going to be all over that and you're going to give them fuel.
Yeah. Why do you think hippies didn't shower? Because it's an infiltrated thing. How do we attach literally a stink to your position?
Right, right.
That's the
dirty
goal.
Hippie.
And I don't know how people haven't figured it out by now, especially in the age of internet. If you got an internet channel, people that are very successful online, they've got agents that have people comment shitty things to them so that the fans get mad and fight with them in the comments to drive the algorithm.
Right,
That's just a standard practice for many years. I would never come up with some shit like that. All these people do all the time.
When we first started, I used to fight with people to drive the algorithm.
You have to do that.
And then once we got enough subscribers, I stopped. Mostly. Every now and then I'll mix it up in there. So they said, rightly, we firmly reject any form of hatred or bigotry. And okay, so this is great. So rabbi at their local Chabad center, I think, told them they should go home. In a letter to Jewish students earlier Sunday, Rabbi Eli Buchler of the Columbia Barnard Hillel and Craft Center for Jewish Student Life recommended they return home and stay there, saying it was clear the university and city police cannot guarantee Jewish students' safety in the face of extreme anti-Semitism and anarchy. Columbia senior Sonia Pozansky said protests on campus have been transformed from political statements to, quote, incitement to violence and Jew hatred. On Thursday, 113 people were arrested after Shafik sent a letter to New York police requesting its help to break up the encampment that had been set up on campus in support of Gaza.
Wait. Siania Pozansky? Was she the one told to go back to Poland by any chance? Hey, Pozansky, go back to Poland.
I mean, if it happened to anybody. In a news conference about the arrest, police described those arrested as peaceful and said they offered no resistance. Columbia student Mariam Alwan, who helped organize the pro-Palestinian protest and was suspended and arrested, told MSNBC's Ayman Moyeldin It feels like it's part of a repressive campaign against pro-Palestine advocacy that has been going on for months now. She added, "We are being criminalized on our own campus." Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what's happening.
Well, I guess woke is dead.
And Keaton, you're right. They backed off for a while, and now they're tripling down on this.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. And this Colombia president, I mean, I'd be surprised if she is not driven out. Because, you know, even though she said, you know, all the right things according to the government at the hearing, I mean, her campus is in much more a state of chaos than MIT or UPenn ever were. So I can't imagine she wouldn't be driven out.
Yeah,
that's where
this seems to be spreading to a lot of campuses now.
Of course.
So Fetterman,
it should, and it's important because they can't fire everybody.
Well, you know what? This is something that, okay, you want to talk about repressing information or distorting the narrative. I have long been really interested in the history of 60s, 70s counterculture. And it wasn't until I read a book called Nixon Land that was not about Nixon, but it was about the United States under Nixon and what was going on in the country. It wasn't until I read that I found out that on any given day of Nixon's presidency, 1/3 of college campuses were shut down by protests. 1/3. 1/3. In 1970 and 1971, there were over 2,000 domestic bombings in the United States, mostly, almost entirely, from left groups protesting racism, more often Vietnam. Have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard that?
Not that number.
That information is wiped from the history books. They do not want people knowing that. That is the only place I have ever come across that, unless you go looking for it. But you can read an entire history of the 60s, 70s. They will never even mention that. They might mention the Weather Underground, but they don't give you any idea of what the scale of this was.
Yeah, right.
Over 2,000. We freak out if they find a pressure cooker in a dumpster. Over fucking 2,000 a year. So when you look at this happening on college campuses, not that I'm advocating violence, but when you look at these protest movements spreading on college campuses, hey, man, it is in a lot of ways re-articulating history. At one time, yes, on any given day in America during Nixon's presidency, 1/3 of college campuses were not just people on the lawn in tents, shut down. College was shut down for business. 1/3 of them on any given day in those years. So you're talking about 1968 to 74. So Fetterman, not surprisingly, I fully agree with the White House. These protests are anti-Semitic, unconscionable, and dangerous.
Are they not protests? Is that why they're in quotes?
Yeah. Well, of course they're not. Add some tiki torches, and it's Charlottesville for these Jewish students.
What?
To Columbia President Manu Shafik, to what you were saying, Keaton, do your job or resign so Columbia can find someone who will. I'll tell you, they're not going to be happy until Bill Ackman is running Columbia. And Caitlin Johnston, as she always does, wins the internet. The ICC is preparing to issue arrest warrants for Israeli officials. Israel nearly started a war with Iran, and the IDF is preparing to commit a horrifying massacre in Rafah. So naturally, the mainstream press is very, very interested in anti-Semitism on college campuses again. Anything, Keaton?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is just like I said, it's like time folded over itself. This was the first battle that everybody was fighting in the immediate weeks after October 7th. How could they, why are college campuses so unsafe for Jewish students? I mean, this was October, November. Right. And then as the headlines out of Gaza got worse and worse and worse, you had a real shift in public understanding of this whole conflict, to the point where the campus protests really fell out of the news. And then when the World Central Kitchen murders happened, you saw the media just the bottom really fell out of support for Israel to the point where not only were you not seeing this, but I mean, I made this point, like, doesn't it seem so silly?
It
now
seemed like we had moved on
think
from it.
like
Yes,
4 months later, like,
somebody-
you're really going to litigate the merits of these protests now, given how far this has
they
gone?
will. Yes, they will.
And now they will again, because now they've had a bit of a not a total reset, but the Iran airstrike swap really bought them a little bit of time. And but now as a ground invasion of Rafah seems to be in the offing, Netanyahu has said he has set a date. There was an airstrike, I believe it was yesterday, could have been the day before, that killed 22 people, including 18 children. Right? Not killed 18 children plus another 4. No, it was 18 out of the 22 kids. So, and with the mass grave story, which we just did, how for how long can this reset last? Because Israel tends to drain whatever goodwill they get pretty quickly.
In Australia, they have, by the way. I got friends in Australia. Those were Australians they killed. Those cars they hit.
Right.
Kilometer apart. A lot of Australians like, why do we care about this? That's real discontent starting to spread about it. They don't just kill the Palestinians, who we all don't care about, obviously, or it would be fine. They're killing everybody. They don't give a fuck.
Yep.
Hey, come see us do a live show in El Paso, Texas, San Antonio, Denver, Colorado, Los Angeles, California, May 19th at the Zephyr Theater. That's a panel show with video. Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, Rutherford, New Jersey, Minneapolis, Ontario, California, Irvine, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.